Chris Major, designated safeguarding lead at South Hunsley School. I think as a large secondary school with an awful lot of users, we always had some concerns that maybe things were going unnoticed. We've used Smoothwall filtering for quite some time, and it's a great product. It stops kids from getting to sites that we don't want them to go to. But what it doesn't do is let me know instantly that there's a concern. And so I'd receive an email the following day, and I'd have to scan through that email, which could take some time if there were a lot of hits of concern. And then I would have to filter out myself the users who had made actually some mistake and gone to the wrong sort of website. And the worry was that things might be missed, and as a busy safeguarding lead, we can't allow things to be missed. So we started to look around at the sorts of products that could help us try and fill that gap, because we were concerned that there was a gap in our safeguarding provision. We already had an awareness, because we worked with Smoothwall for quite some time. We had an awareness of the sorts of products that were available to us, and what we did, Smoothwall was our first port of call to have some information about how you provide a service that could fill the gap that we'd identified. And when we looked at the product, actually we thought it seems to do the job, and whilst Matt, our IT director, he did look around at other products. What is important to us is that we deal with an organisation who we can trust, and that's why we chose Smoothwall. The product did what we wanted it to do. We already had a relationship with you, and we felt that we could trust you with our safeguarding needs. We took up the offer of having a trial period for active monitoring, where we installed it on a selected number of PCs just for sixth form students. And it became very clear that actually it was doing everything that you'd promised that it would. And we did have a situation where a student had typed something into the computer. We'd received both an email and a phone call from the Active Monitoring Centre that allowed us to respond within about 12 minutes of the student typing something in. We could have someone next to the student within about 15 minutes of them typing it in. And that meant that we could intervene the instant that a student was actually posing as offering some sort of risk. And when we called parents to confirm what had happened, they were absolutely blown away by the fact that we'd not only been notified that something happened, but then we'd responded to that information, and that we'd safeguarded that child within about 15 minutes of them typing something into a computer. And that was one of the key pieces of evidence that I put forward when we were saying, look, we want to spend this money. This is what it can do. Imagine that across the whole school, and then imagine that across the whole trust. And that's a very powerful argument. What Smoothwall allowed us to do was a couple of things. So it wasn't just recognising where, or being able to identify and inform us when there was a safeguarding concern online. It also allowed us to understand when there was a safeguarding concern on a computer that wasn't necessarily going live. So if someone's typing something into a Word document, or someone's typing something into an email or into a notepad file, Active Monitoring logs that, and it takes that information and it lets us know that there's been an issue. So if someone's keeping an online diary on their school computer of how they're feeling, and lots of those things are starting to be flagged up, then Active Monitoring allows a log to be developed, and we get a profile of each user, so we can see, oh well, this seems to have been building over a period of time, and that allows us to look and see, well, they might not have hit the highest alert yet. I might not have had an email and a phone call through to me yet, but we can see that there's been subsequent occasions, and this might be an issue that's building, and that allows us to intervene much more at a much earlier stage. What's great is that as soon as there's an instance of concern, so someone hits one of those really high categories, both Matt and myself receive an email, and we also receive a phone call from the monitoring centre, and so you can't miss it. It doesn't get lost in one of the dozens and dozens of emails that you might receive. There's a phone call, and it can be to the school, it can be to a mobile, and they say, this is the nature of the concern, this is why we're concerned, and then they leave it with us to make sure that we react in the appropriate way. What I'd say to a safeguarding lead in another school is to consider first where the gaps in their provision might be. They should, as an absolute minimum, have filtering on their web service to make sure that children and staff can't access inappropriate content. And then consider the need for the sort of active monitoring service that we've managed to find the money to invest in here. My suggestion to any other school or trust would be to talk to Smoothwall, request that they have a trial it for a month or two, see what feedback you get from your DSL, and then look and see how you can make sure that you afford it, because whilst it's not a cheap product, it's about, can you afford not to have it in place.